Alright folks, I'm going to try to give you a quick tour of the aviation display here at the Henry Ford Museum. That is a working replica, an exact replica of the 1903 Orville, or the Wright brothers airplane that first took to the skies. And that was actually built in 2003, exactly 100 years after the first flight. And that's a working model, and that has been to Kitty Hawk and flown the exact height and distance, which wasn't much, as the original was before it was put here in the museum. Everyone's seen that photograph. That's the only photograph that was taken on that day back in 1903 of the flight. And that, folks, is a Ford Trimotor, 1928, I believe. I flew on one like that about 7 months ago. Not the same year. Said it didn't need 3 motors, it'd fly on one, but people were still nervous about flying commercially on airplanes back then. And everyone knows what this is. Awesome airplane. It's a 39 DC-3, also known as the Goonie Bird. This one's a record breaker here. This tells about this particular plane. This held a distance record, a longevity record, until it was beat by another DC-3. It's the factory when they were building them. There's that tri-motor again from up above. It's the Wright brothers plane again. 1920 Dayton Wright RB-1. At the time, that was the fastest plane in production. You couldn't even see out the front as far as where you were going. From an Arctic expedition, 1926. The Blériot X-1 from 1910. 1931 Pitcairn PCA-2 Autogyro. It's a hybrid. It's half helicopter, half plane with wings. Early pictures of it. That thing's crazy. Another 1939 Sikorsky. They've come a long way too. Early Boeing, 1927. Alright, here's the Ford Trimotor, which I flew on. Now you can fly on one. Yeah. Except the pilot's up here. Sounds about right. Chairs are a little bit different. And this is the DC-3. And this is inside the DC-3. Still has props. We're on a 737 now, 67 model. Much quieter. You can see we're flying. Now that's a Ford Flivver. That's when Henry Ford decided to get into the aviation business. That's actually before the Trimotor. And maybe you could mass produce airplanes like the Model T. And those are apparently quite dangerous. And with that short wingspan, I can see why. They're doing a publicity deal flight from Dearborn to Miami in this thing. And Ford chose his best test pilot, who was a really good friend of his. A guy considered one of his sons. Anyway, disappeared, never made it. Obviously crashed somewhere, got killed, and he was really distraught, Henry was, about that. So he shut the whole program down and got out of aviation at that point. Old airplane propellers. Some resemble what I've got hanging on my wall at home. And the Barnstormers. They're just plumb crazy. That's that plane from that Arctic expedition again. Here you can experience and this is what happened to a lot of the Daredevils. Oops. Alright. Well, that's in brief the aviation display here at the Henry Ford. Alrighty then.